Hello and welcome to ET Auto Startup Adda. I'm Nabil Khan. This is the show that brings industry experts and the fun finances for the startups and startup founders to explore the new business idea that is coming up in the new age mobility space. Today's participant is Virtual Forest. This is a company, as they put it, an ecosystem platform for electronics, system design, and manufacturing, along with deep domain expert, and they call themselves having an state-of-the-art R&D lab. The company has also built solid partnership with large manufacturers, OEMs, and suppliers. This is how they put or describe their company. Let me invite the participants, the founder of the company, Mr. Omer Basith, founder and CEO, Mr. Sandeep Kejriwal, co-founder and CFO of the company. Thank you so much, Sandeep and Omer, for joining in. Before I, I give you the cue to go and start your presentation, let me introduce today's expert who is going to review this startup. He is none other than the stalwart of the automotive industry. He is the senior executive director of Maruti Suzuki India Limited, the country's largest passenger vehicle manufacturer, and probably one of the most favorite experts that we have at ET Auto Startup Adda. That's Mr. Shashank Srivastava. Thank you so much, Mr. Srivastava, for joining ET Auto Startup Adda today. I know that you had a hard press, you were busy in your launch that is going to happen tomorrow, but still you took out time and joined us today. Like
Thank you.
uh,
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So, as format, we start with the presentation from the founders. So, over to you, Sandeep and Omer. Just want to understand what you have to offer in this manufacturing space. You make motors, controllers, which are going to be very important for the new mobility. Just want to understand how are you trying to scale this up? What is unique that you are doing? Let's hear from you.
Sure. So, Virtual Forest was established in November 2019. We are five co-founders who started this company to fill a particular need in the Indian ecosystem. We saw that while the end users of motor controllers for in the growing EV space and also in the home appliance space were present in the country, there was aggregated demand. There's a large EMS capacity prevalent in the country. And of course, component suppliers through distributors have been here for decades. But for some reason, very little electronics for motor control applications were being manufactured in India. And so we set out to try and fill this gap. That required us to create a unique business model that brings together all the sides of this ecosystem. We have a large in-house R&D capability that we've leveraged to create base platforms for certain applications. We then take these platforms to end users, that's OEMs or tier ones, and help integrate or create products around these applications, around these platforms. We then take these platforms to the EMS companies, get them manufactured at scale, and close the loop and help bring manufacture of certain products, which until this point were almost wholly dependent on imports. We started this company with a particular thesis in mind. We wanted to specifically work on technologies that would help reduce emissions, and hence our name. Every single product that we manufacture helps mitigate carbon emissions, and the more products that we put out in the market, it's like having trees, more and more trees that reduce carbon emissions, and hence the name Virtual Forest. I'd like to request you if you could just bring up the slides on screen, and Sandeep can briefly describe our business model.
Yeah, so the way we differentiate ourselves, as Omer said, is by taking care of this entire need of the OEMs on an end-to-end basis. And that starts with creating the design, the IP that an OEM needs. And we don't leave it there. The way we have evolved over a period of time is we work with the OEMs on one end, the distributors of raw materials, which is the semiconductors, PCBs, and other components on one side. And then we also work with the manufacturers. So India has enough capacity to make electronic products. But the gap was that there was a need for an expert player in the center with deep domain knowledge, somebody who can understand the nuts and bolts of the entire requirement. We offer complete integration and testing apart from just creating the design. We aggregate demand and we negotiate and bring the prices to an acceptable level. And this smile curve also explains how we have drawn a line between what we do and what we outsource. So the lower part is that we have outsourced the manufacturing, so we don't manufacture, but we have partnership with large electronic manufacturing services companies, and so is the case with logistics and raw material suppliers. And then we also continue to be part of the technology roadmap of those OEMs in terms of how the world is evolving and continuing to create new designs. So we are in actually offering the entire solution in the lap of an OEM, something for which they were so far dependent on Chinese imports or from other countries. Now they are getting that entire solution right here in India. The way we differentiate ourselves and our USP is we call ourselves an ecosystem platform. We are aggregating both the demand and the supply sides together. On supply side, we partner with the manufacturing companies, the design houses, the raw material suppliers, and on the demand side, we work with OEMs and give them end-to-end solution. We are creating business for everyone by moving manufacturing from neighboring countries to India. We also feel very proud that we are driving this whole Make in India move, and while also working on technology which is contributing towards a greener climate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that the government has prioritized, reducing our dependence on imports has really given legs to the local electronics manufacturing ecosystem. The one challenge is that the government has prioritized manufacturing, so that would be component manufacturing as well as helping putting in measures that would promote local consumption of locally manufactured electronics. But the one thing that's been missing is support for the creation of IP. Now, an electronic component has three major cost contributors. Of course, raw material, conversion costs, that's assembly and box build, etc., plus also IP and licenses. So IP and licenses are a key component which have not been prioritized as such, and that's the gap that we're trying to fill by bringing all three sides of this ecosystem together and delivering finished products which are both cost competitive and technology benchmarked to anything that's available through imports. So that's what we do at Virtual Forest, and these last 2 years have been a great journey for us, and we've been able to bring large GMV of electronics manufacturing within the borders of our country and help make sure that the value addition for this activity stays within our borders as well.
Yeah, on a standalone basis, this ecosystem has not been able to deliver, whether it is pure manufacturing or just design or just raw material. Our ability to bring everything together and offer solution on a platter has given us, the success that we have seen in the last couple of years in the home appliance segment, and now we are replicating the same in the electric mobility segment.
So that's it from us. I mean, I think that's an introduction about Virtual Forest. We can go into the specific insights that we have around serving the EV ecosystem. We can do that now, or if you want, we can touch on that a little bit later in the presentation.
Request Sandeep and Omer if you could give a little bit brief idea about yourself, what kind of experience you have, in which domain you were, just briefly in 30 seconds, so that I can invite the expert in this session.
Sure. So I have worked I actually headed a company that manufactured electronic components, and we were serving the motor run ecosystem largely for home appliance applications. I noticed the technology change happening from regular induction motors to energy efficient BLDC motors, and this meant that there would be a requirement for electronic motor control. This is also a requirement for the shift, the electrification of mobility, and the opportunity that came with this. So me, along with my co-founders, there are five of us. We have three technical co-founders: our CTO, our head of engineering hardware, our head of engineering software, Sandeep, and myself. And we set out to create a company that could help fill this need.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I'll hand over the show to the expert for this session, Mr. Shashank Srivastava. Thank you so much. Over to you now.
Thank you, Nabil, and thank you very much, Sandeep and Omar, for that insightful couple of slides that you showed. I think you guys are doing a tremendous work in an area which had required a lot of attention, but unfortunately in our country, it has never got so. Probably one of the reasons why it never got attention was that India traditionally was into manufacturing of brushed DC motors, not the brushless, the BLDCM that you talked about. But now things are changing. You have electric vehicles, you have inverter technology now for ACs and refrigerator, which requires people like you to have a platform where you can, integrate the design, the supplier side, and the demand side. But so I think the market is great. It's a great choice, and you are doing a great service to the nation actually for building capabilities. I have though a lot of questions for you. I come from a mobility background, from auto in particular. So I would like to know more about the motor controller, which is used for the EVs. You said you do it for two-wheelers and three-wheelers, not for four-wheelers. But I think the principle remains the same. One, I think, how would you overcome the lack of technical capability in our country as regards the new age motor controller, which you are referring to? Because traditionally we were into the brush DC motor manufacturing, but now we have the BLDCM, we have the PMSM also, the permanent magnet synchronous motors as well. So technical capability, both on an organizational level and individual level, is missing. How do you sort of propagate that capability also among the various suppliers and on the supply side, and also on the organization on the demand side? Do you have a plan for that?
Absolutely, Shashank. So actually, Shashank, one of the first things that we noticed when we set out on this journey of working with OEMs and users of these technologies was the lack of understanding of what is essentially a pretty niche and new area for a lot of organizations. This requires a niche skill set which is not widely prevalent in industry at the moment. And this meant that, in many cases, we were working with companies that didn't even have a design requirement for this application. For a lot of companies, it was a case of, okay, this is a competitor's product. Now, help us build something which replicates this, which meets the necessary requirements, meets the necessary government energy standards, etc., and has the same feature set. So we've had to actually build from the ground up. So I mean, one of our biggest USPs and how we've been able to deliver actual commercial production of these electronics to Indian industry is the fact that we've taken a complete hand-holding approach with our end customers. This has meant working with them to create a design requirement. This comes from our strategy of creating a product platform. Now, like you mentioned, a couple of use applications, whether it's inverter, air conditioning, inverter, refrigeration, washing machine, etc., and also motor controllers for various EV applications. We create a base level platform which is already technology benchmarked to industry standards, as well as, of course, being price benchmarked, considering that is the first and maybe the most major gate in the current Indian ecosystem. We create that base platform, and then we work with the end customer, already helping them speed up the process of learning the basic technology, make learning the industry standards, learning, whether it's a EMI, EMC requirements, etc. of the product. This is already done. We educate them on this, provide the necessary documentation, walk them through the integration process with their existing product, and most importantly, give them a technology roadmap moving forward. A big challenge, couple of insights from working in this industry is, of course, the lack of a design requirement, but also a lot of hesitance from companies saying that, okay, fine, if we work with you right now and you somehow deliver a working product to us, if there is a technology change, if there is a regulation change, etc., we don't have the wherewithal or the understanding to then move forward with this. So we have to provide that outsourced sort of R&D capability to them moving forward. And this has meant that we've had to, really create a collaborative mindset with companies that up to this point have been somewhat dependent on having all of the skill sets required to serve the industry in house. We've tried to propagate the idea that, okay, this is a niche skill set. It's possible to work with an outside agency, make sure that your IP is protected, make sure that whatever your business requirements are met, and operate in this way. This is a model which has been extremely successful in other countries, whether it's of course China and then other locations as well. And this is an idea that we're trying to propagate in India. Of course, this is not the first time that it's happened. Indian companies have tried to work with standalone design houses, but there are, let's just say that the battlefield is littered with many corpses of failed projects, and that's perhaps dissuaded industry from looking at this as a serious way forward. So we've had to kind of create an all round a 360-degree offering, which starts off with the fact that this is an existing platform. Now you don't need to start from scratch and learn and work with us. This is price benchmark from day one, so your risk is eliminated, and the timeline to deliver this finished product to you is very, very short, because you have our support and we will handhold you along the way. So this, while it's taken a fair amount of education and convincing in the overall ecosystem, I think a lot of people are now open to the idea, and this is probably because we've demonstrated success now, with a couple of large accounts. So it's really helped us now, convince people that this is a really viable way for you to move up the technology ladder.
Yeah. So, Omer, I understand. The technology itself in this area is changing very fast. Actually, if you look, and when you are sort of integrating and providing that platform which integrates and coordinates between on the demand side, on the supply side, on the supplier side, on the material side as well. Actually, I feel on the technology front, the motor controller thing requires embedded system technology. You need to be good at it. Power electronics, control systems, electric machines. How do you intend to be up to date if you are to do a hand holding, or as you said, for the lack of technical capability of the final consumer? How do you make sure that you yourself are updated on each of these various aspects which the motor controller requires on the technology front?
So we've actually tried to create an interesting structure in our company, where our core technology team, the founders essentially, are what we call our innovation team. So rather than be involved in day-to-day project delivery, our founders actually trying to stay ahead of the curve as far as innovative technologies are concerned, and they try, and of course, them being technology experts themselves in their specific areas of or specialization, they are managing to keep ahead of the curve. But apart from that, Virtual Forest has deep technology partnerships with some of the largest semiconductor manufacturers in the world. We are preferred design house for Infineon Technologies, which means that we
Okay.
have visibility on their roadmap for the next couple of generations
Mm, mm,
of products.
mm,
We have similar agreements with the likes of NXP, Renesas, and several power electronics providers as well. So this keeps us sort of at the cutting edge in terms of what platforms are going to become prevalent, what technology methodologies are going to become prevalent, and it's almost like an arms race. Everyone is trying to get that more powerful, more cheaper, more you know, more intuitive platform out in the
Yeah,
market.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and while these guys have these technologies, it's actually companies like us and other technology companies which then have to sort of translate this base level requirement into commercially actionable products. And that's
So
kind
that
of
that Omar, yeah. On that part, I have my doubt, which I must express here for you, which is that these are basically semiconductor controlled devices. I mean, that is the, what should we say, bread and butter, or the basic component. For example, in electric vehicles, you see, we require uh, components and systems. We generally work with a 48-volt systems which generate, because you require big motors for EVs. Maybe the amperes run up to 250 amperes as well. So you require those semiconductors which withstand that sort of thing. Those are not being made in India. So on the supply side, how do you manage that? Because you may have a platform which brings everything together, but what about the basic semiconductor itself?
So we are victims to the global semiconductor shortages, just like everyone else. Again, our strategic relationship with some companies is, I would say, helping us smoothen this a little bit. They see us as, they see the Indian market, the potential for certain applications, specifically EVs, as a real opportunity for them. So some of them will be willing to perhaps allocate some quantities to Indian customers a little bit quicker than they would otherwise. But having said that, I mean, we're all victim to 4 month, 5 month lead times at the minimum, going up to
So,
even.
Omar, you said you had some good relation with semiconductor. Please do help us as well in our semiconductor with your relationship. And
We
before
have,
I sorry, Sunil, you were asking something.
I'm saying just
Sunil.
to add on to that, we have actually built very good partnerships with some of the global distributor companies, and they are also very happy because now they are seeing an opportunity to grow their business in India because of virtual forest. We have heard some of these compliments from them that we have been present in India, but the business goes to our counterparts in China because the
Yeah, yeah,
manufacturing was happening there, but now the manufacturing is happening here because you guys have brought designs to a manufacturing stage here, and we are supplying the components. So we are all, as I said in the introduction, that when we work with our customers, we are also in a position to aggregate demand. We take the forecasts from them, and we work with the distributors to make sure that the components are lined up. It
fine.
gives us visibility, because when we say we are offering an end-to-end solution, it is not just a design or getting it manufactured. There is a timeline also that that we bring to the table, that okay, we will deliver so much, within so much time. And for us, while manufacturing is outsourced, as if we are directly involved, we are there for that entire end-to-end planning.
Yeah.
So
So my
there
next question, Samir, my next question actually, Nabil, I'm okay. If it's okay, I can ask one more question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
continue. Okay.
yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and I think they are doing a great job in this area, which requires a lot of attention. So pardon me asking so many questions, Omar and
Our
Sandeep.
pleasure. Our pleasure.
When you say end-to-end solutions, and you are looking at the manufacturing capability also, because that's central to your product, even if you are integrating it on a platform. What about such things like component mounting, for example? Do you have those type of accuracies of a minimum, for example, of some maybe a 0.03 or something like that to maybe something like a 30 type of thing? Do you have your capabilities, or it is just that you ensure that such things happen? Or, for example, we have in these things a 3D automatic optical inspection, for example. Do you have that capability? Or even automated PCB cleaning itself is something which probably you guys must be knowing at least before you get into an end-to-end solution with the on the supply side.
Absolutely. So we've been fortunate enough to forge relationships with some of India's most technology-forward EMS partners. We do work with Napino Auto and Electronics in Manesar. We do some work with Elgin Electronics, and more recently we started working with a company called Sirma here in Hosur. And all of these companies do have state-of-the-art processes in place, of course, with regards to accuracy of mounting, things like automatic insertion, things like, of course, laser marking of PCBs, automated CNC cutting. One of our partners even has completely automated connector assembly on their PCBs, etc. And these are companies which are already, specifically Napino, are stalwarts in the automotive electronics ecosystem, doing very, very large quantities and serving this space for high precision electronics. And we've been able to leverage this hugely technologically forward installed capacity to serve this ecosystem. If we took the route of having to build this infrastructure in house, it would be very, very difficult for us to
Yeah, I
scale up
understand.
at the speed at which we have. And of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
it's a extremely capital
yeah, yeah, yeah.
intensive space.
I understand. Yeah.
So
Omar,
we've
but
been able.
I have yeah, Sunil wanted to say something. I had one question relating to that QC capability actually, because you say, okay, you may not be able to do everything in-house, so they are actually getting it done. People have capabilities, but you must be making some basic checks. For example, if I was a maker of an electric vehicle and I use this controller for EVs, sourcing from different platforms like yours, I would still like things like component traceability, for example, for future, even component verification, for example. Are you having? I mean, do you apply some sort of a check which enables this on the supply side, the supplier side?
So in terms of traceability, some of our partners have complete traceability packages in place, as a part of their manufacturing process. We are involved from, every step of the way in the creation of ICT, FCT jigs, final testing, and type testing, which is done done at our partners' ends. Also, some of our partners, specifically again, the Napino Auto Electronics, has a absolutely huge uh, product validation infrastructure in place with an R&D lab. We have leveraged that and continue to leverage that for environmental testing, for for product bring up, etc. at their end. So this is a completely involved process where we are working with these companies literally as partners to take this to production.
Yeah,
Designing and
yeah.
handing over design is only one step of the way. Taking that
Mm.
design to actual validation and then finally to stable production is a journey in itself,
Absolutely,
and that's
absolutely.
what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, yeah. So because if you want a good quality thing with the really large manufacturers or EVs, for example, I would say that the OEM would be interested in the suppliers having the some QC systems like a CPK or a CMK sort of a study, or the MSA, the measurement system analysis that is done to ensure quality checks. So if that is all been taken care of and you are aware of these things, then I think it's a great proposition for any EV manufacturer.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
Shashank, as we said, we started our journey in the home appliance segment, working within designing controllers for inverter ACs and washing machines and BLDC ceiling fans, and before moving into the electric vehicles. And we have been serving the market dominating brands in the country who have the largest market share in their respective appliance space. And we have been supplying the controllers in bulk to them. It would not be possible if the manufacturing capability was not world class in literal sense. And they are actually They even participate. We take them to our manufacturing partners for plant audit, and they want to make sure that it meets all the points that you raised in terms of certain manufacturing standards and traceability, ROHS and REACH, and the EMI EMC capability. Everything is stress testing, environmental testing, and these are fully automated state-of-art manufacturing facilities. And we partner with them, and as Omer said, we see scalability of virtual forest in this kind of an environment where we continue to work and expand our EMS footprint as our partner ecosystem. We continue to focus on design and development and trying to stay ahead of the curve, and eventually offering to our customers what they need now and also in the future.
Great, great. So that's all from my side, Nabil. I think they have got, they seem to have to be in control of the entire thing, and best of luck to them.
Shank,
Hopefully they.
I request you to stay for another 5 minutes. I'll have few questions, then I'll come to you and get your final score for them.
Sure, sure.
Sandeep and Basith, what kind of investment have you made so far? And how are you looking at funding? What is the strategy?
So we raised a small seed funding in July 2020. That was in the middle of the pandemic, just after the company was formed. And through this journey of pandemic and lockdown in the last 20 months, we have established our presence, and we have acquired some of the biggest brands in the country as our customers in the appliance segment. We got into a partnership with an Israeli company, and we have jointly developed the controller.
What kind of business breakup do you see between appliances and mobility?
As we look into the future, we see a 50-50 split. We see the electric vehicle motor control segment about 50% of our business volume, and the remaining 50% coming from the home appliance segment.
What kind of business in terms of revenue have you made so far in the last 3 years, and how do you look at it in the next 5 years? What is your rightful place in terms of revenue or business? And
So
what kind of market?
we are a 2-year-old company. The way we track our revenue is in form of the total manufacturing value that we are driving, the GMV, the gross manufacturing value. The way business model is, in few cases, we have the invoicing happening directly from the manufacturing partner to the OEM. In some cases, we take the invoice into our books, and then we add a markup, and then we bill back. So what we track as our business growth is the GMV we are enabling, the total manufacturing which is
What kind of
happening.
investment do you think it will be required to go full volume or to scale
So
up?
we are currently in the process of raising our Series A. We are looking to raise a small amount of $3 million against a minority stake to give us a 2-year runway.
What
This
kind
year,
of valuation do you look at your company? 3
I'm
million
sorry,
at what valuation? At what valuation?
against a valuation of $20 million.
Okay, that's
And this year we are, in spite of the semiconductor shortage and the pandemic, we expect to drive a GMV of close to $9 million. The manufacturing started in the middle of this financial year, and our goal is to enable $500 million of GMV by 25-26 through virtual forest technology platforms.
that's quite ambitious. Shashank ji, you know this space quite well. Just want to understand creating an ecosystem in such a complex category. How difficult or easy it is going to be for a startup? Though these founders are well known in the industry, they have worked in the industry, they understand the system, but still for a company like you, how easy it is going to rely on such companies for such a complex thing, how much trust you would have, how much of business you would give to such company, or what kind of a scope do you see, or the hindrances
So,
that you may see they need to overcome?
yeah, Nabil, I think the whole EV concept is still in the developing stage. lots of technologies which are associated with that, with the powertrain for the EV, in the motor technology, the controller technology in which they are so proficient in. They are all actually sort of in a developing stage, and therefore the OEM's reliance on a lot of these technology companies is going to be huge. It is quite different from the traditional manufacturing that we have seen. So increasingly, you will have these OEMs dependent on modules. Now, of course, even in traditional manufacturing earlier, OEMs used to have foundries and their own plants, etc., etc. And then it was given to vendors, and then things like door systems or the engine systems, etc., were from a design stage upwards were also given outside outsourced. So I think there is no real hindrance, provided the technology is right and provided the delivery is done with a good quality in a timely manner. And I don't know, they mentioned time, they mentioned scale,
Yeah.
but the price point also becomes important, which I'm sure Samir with his he being a CFO would surely be maintaining a hawk's eye on the costs and the prices that
Absolutely.
that is being offered to customers.
Yeah.
So the
And you know,
scalability is there, Nabil. I think there will be increased dependence, and OEMs will be getting more and more comfortable with this concept of giving the whole modules to people outside,
Sandeep,
because the
what's your
technology is
thought?
such.
Yeah, Sandeep, your word on cost,
So,
affordability.
Shashank is spot on, and as Omer also mentioned, pricing is one key aspect. All talk is nice, if it does not meet the pricing expectation of an OEM, because we are in a segment, and India as a country is a very price sensitive market, whether it is consumer durables or whether it is an EV segment also. So we understand that need of the OEM first, and I think our
Can you
USP.
put a value, Sandeep, compared to the market? How is your pricing different or your cost
Our
structure?
price, our products are as competitive as you buy from China or any other country.
So
Okay,
that is
very
a
well.
basic requirement at this stage right now for the electronics ecosystem. Sure, there are some government measures in place which do make it preferable for us.
Oh,
Recently in the EV segment for light electric
Shashank
vehicles.
sir, Shashank sir, I just want to understand. Suppose if you were sitting with the money, you would invest in this startup at the valuation of $20 million right now.
Yeah, so of course, when it comes to parting with money, we will do a more deep dive analysis than a 20-minute chat, surely. So we would have to look at their QC
Will this
systems,
interest
their
you? At least, will
yeah,
this interest?
interesting, definitely. Which I have already said. Yes, it is very interesting, and not just Maruti Suzuki. I think all OEMs into the EV space looking for these controller thing will be. I mean, I say it's a great market to be in. Only thing is they should have that quality in terms of delivery, both on timelines as also on price lines. So that is, I think, if that is there, then everybody will get interested. Nabil, surely.
What's your thought on $500 million GMB in next 5 years, 4 5 years?
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely achievable, even though
Oh,
it's ambitious for an individual startup. But I think it is very much possible, considering the huge scale we are expecting in this field in
oh.
India going forward, and actually across the world.
Yeah.
Well, your final verdict on the three parameter that we always judge this startup or we review them on scalability in terms of adaptability in the market and also in terms of affordability. How will you rate this one when 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest?
So I would probably rate them one of the higher ones I have been in your show. I'm a little stingy when it comes to ratings, but scalability, I would say 9 definitely. Adaptability depends on how good they themselves are in adapting to new technology. I would say about a 8 or so. and in terms of what was the third one?
Affordable.
Affordability. Yes, I think this is actually not a very high value thing in an overall setup, because the battery cost is a large portion. If I'm talking only from a EV perspective, the battery cost is about 55-60% of the cost. So I think it's quite. I would rate them at around 8 or 8.5 or type on affordability.
Thank you.
What would be your piece of advice to them? What are the biggest challenge you think that would come across them that they should be prepared about, and they should be ready to handle that one?
Yeah, so it is the same as what I advise myself and my people, which is the rate there will come a point of inflection when the rate of adoption of this technology will become so huge that it will require a different skill set for that sort of scale. So what today it looks like a easier walk might actually become a tough run when it comes to the large scale. So one has to prepare for that sort of thing. So keep the vision high, not just that billion mark, but also in terms of technology capability and the platform development itself. And I think you can go for the stars.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Shashank.
Shashank.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep and Basit, for choosing Etiota Startup to join and share your view and vision on the business. And thank you so much, Shashank ji, for joining Etiota Startup. It was really an insightful session. We learned about how semiconductor space having great potential in the new mobility when we see the semiconductor crisis continue to grow. See you next week on Tuesday with another startup and expert. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nabil. Thank you, team. Bye. What?